3rd, 2022, a fire broke out in a cell in Mangwang Correctional Center in Bloemfontein, South Africa. After the fire was put out, a body was found. But the problem was the body was burnt beyond recognition. Since the fire occurred in just that cell, just that one cell, it was assumed that the occupant of that cell had committed suicide. Unknown to them, this was not a suicide. It was the well-planned and orchestrated escape of Thabo Bester, a serial rapist and murderer in South Africa.
Death sentence be given as a petition, that the public signs a petition and I be given a death sentence, and immediately I will agree to it.
Hi guys, my name is Ikelomo Adeniyi, and this is the story of Thabo Bester, the man who managed to escape prison. Thabo Bester was born on 13th June 1986 at the Chris Hani Hospital. He was born to a mother who couldn't, for some reason, which I believe was lack of funds, register his birth. Like, she couldn't register his birth with the government. That is to say, basically, that to the government of South Africa, Thabo Bester did not exist. He didn't exist anywhere in their records until he started existing as a terrorist to the people of South Africa. His own mother, Maria Mabaso's birth, was not also registered because her mother, that is Thabo's grandmother, worked in a farm. So it's easy to see, or it's safe to say, that Thabo did not have an easy life, or Thabo's life was not an easy one. With a life like that, there are only two options. The first one is you either fall by the wayside or you push through until something happens. And you can either push through at something positive or you can push through at something negative. For Thabo Bester, the latter was the case because he got into a life of crime at an early age and got convicted at just 17. At 19, he was convicted of fraud and imprisoned for 2 years before breaking parole. Thabo was just getting started because shortly after breaking parole, he raped 2 models by luring them with the promise of a job, and he killed his girlfriend Mfondo Tahilu. He became known widely in South Africa as the Facebook Rapist. There are criminals all around the world, but some of these criminals draw the line at love, like they draw the line at harming their loved ones. You see criminals who are kidnappers, but they love their families. You see serial killers, serial rapists and all, but they love their families and they love those that are dear to their hearts. A lot of them wouldn't harm a strand of hair on their loved ones, but we also know that they are rapists where the reverse is the case, and Thabo fell into that category. The question now is, how did Thabo end up killing his girlfriend, a woman he claimed to love? Mfondo Tahilu's death was a sad one. For the purpose of this video, we'll call her Tai. Tai's death was a sad one, but the problem is much of the information we got about her death came from the testimony that Thabo gave in the court, a testimony that may have been riddled with lies. Regardless, it is a story that we have. After Thabo came out of the prison for fraud, he went to the car lot where Tai worked in Sandton. That was in 2011. It was a BMW car lot and she was only 26 years old at the time. I believe that at that time she didn't know anything about Thabo. What I mean is she didn't know that he had anything to do with fraud or that he was a criminal of any kind. She didn't know anything about Thabo. But one of the things that he told her was that he worked at a television production where he believed that she would be a good fit for one of the roles. While they were dating, Thabo stayed in Durban while Tai stayed in Johannesburg. But they didn't let that cause any problem in their relationship. They didn't let it hamper the growth of their relationship. They tried to stay in touch in every way possible. When Tai called Thabo and informed him of her new job, which will be starting in November, Thabo decided that, okay, why don't you come over for a getaway? This was 8 months after they had started dating. But the getaway soon turned into something more sinister. Thabo promised Tai not only the getaway, but also a photo shoot. So the couple got into Cape Town on 19th September and booked into a 5-star hotel called One and Only. I mean, it's a romantic name, right? Like One and Only. You go there with your one and only to have a good time. Lodging in such a prestigious hotel in South Africa, in Cape Town, South Africa, required a lot of money. But Thabo didn't care about any of that because soon after that, they moved into another resort. They went into another resort. So it seemed like the guy had a lot of money. I mean, I feel like Tai would have felt he had a lot of money. First of all, they went to a 5-star hotel. I mean, in fact, let's not even say that. First of all, Tabo, he came to her car lot, a BMW car lot, I believe, to come and get a car, look out, even though he was going to he was window shopping, but this guy knows how to look the part. That's one of the things he does well. So I'm sure that when he came to the car lot, it was looking like a bag of money. And then he will now, took her to the one and only hotel, and now had moved them to a resort. So of course it looked like Tabo had a lot of money. Not to mention that he had told her that he worked at a television production. Not only did Tai think that Tabo was loaded, but she also thought that they were exclusive. She thought that Tabo was her one and only, and that she was Tabo's one and only. But like everything with Tabo, that was not the case. With him, it's like the more you see, the less you actually understand. When they moved to the Sunset Beach Resort on the 21st of September, she found out that her lover, that is Tabo, was still in touch with one of his exes, and this caused them to have a huge argument. If Tai thought that they had settled the argument, she was hugely mistaken, and her miscalculation cost her her life, because while she slept, while she had her beauty sleep, while she rested, while she thought that, okay, tomorrow they'll probably, kiss and make up and settle all the issues, Tabo Besta planned. At 2 a.m., she woke up to Tabo Besta holding a knife at her and asking for her gadgets. But how could this be? This was a man that she loved, a man that she thought they were exclusive, and she just found out that they were not actually exclusive. But this was a man that she probably thought was going to, be her husband, or was going to be with her, be her partner for a long time. This was a man that she thought had a lot of money. And here this man was holding a knife to her neck and asking her for her gadgets. Tai was shocked. Tai was shocked. She could not believe this, but she also knew that she had to fight for her life, because it was beginning to look like everything was not as it seemed. And the more she saw, the less she understood. She refused to give him her gadget, and she refused to give him her passwords. But if she thought she was stubborn, Tabo Besta was even worse than she was. He was not going to take no for an answer, so they began to struggle. She was trying to take the knife from him, and he was trying to get her to do his bidding. Suddenly, the struggle stopped. Tai was lying completely still on the bed, face down, with the knife protruding through her chest. You would think that Tabo would be frantic. After all, he had just fatally stabbed his lover. But that was not the case, because the next thing, Tabo was asking for her password. I mean, he wasn't even trying to rush and say, oh, let me stop the blood. Oh, where are you hot? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, babe, please. Nothing like that. What Tabo did next was he told her to give him her password. You may be surprised, but this was not out of the ordinary for him. He tied her hands behind her back with a t-shirt and asked for the passwords of her gadgets. Imagine somebody that is already stabbed, someone that is bleeding, someone that is going through pain. You now say tied her hands behind her back. Tabo. That was not nice. 5 hours later, at around 7 a.m., Tabo packed his belongings and left the hotel. But before he left, he told the owner of the lodge, or the receptionist, or the people in charge, that his woman should not be disturbed, that she was resting. She should not be disturbed until 2 p.m. Imagine. So it was, oh my God. Imagine if this girl was still alive. Maybe she was just hanging, by a thread, or hanging on for dear life, or maybe she was just begging Tabo, asking him to please take her to the hospital. I'm not going to tell anybody. You can have my gadget. You can have my password. Please just help me, or whatever. So he now left her there and told them not to check on her till 2 p.m. so that there will be no way that she will survive it. And I also believe that that was done to give him ample time to escape because of what he did next. He got a ride to Central Cape Town, and from there he took a flight straight to Durban. Imagine the surprise of the guest house owners when by 9 p.m. Tai was nowhere to be found. Even if she was resting, even if she was busy, she had to eat some time. But by 9 p.m. Tai hadn't come out yet. So they forced the door open and went into the room. But what they found there left them in shock. Tai was dead. They reported to the police, and the police began to look for Tabo Besta. But it wasn't easy, because at this time he had about 13 different identities and about 100 different phone numbers. It felt like they were trying to find a needle in a haystack, because Tabo Besta was nowhere to be found. Reports were coming in daily about Tabo Besta. Those he scammed kept reporting to the police, but every time the details of the scammer was different. Still, somehow they could tell that this this was the same person. It was the same person with a different name, the same face, but different phone number, and sometimes a different location. Tabo Besta was playing a game, and it was clear that he was playing it well. He even taunted the police by posting on his Facebook. Not only the police, he taunted the police and his victims by posting on his Facebook. Why are you people disturbing me? Catch me if you can. Hey, the audacity. It's like, why are you people disturbing me? That is it for me. That is really it. But even a predator can make mistakes. Besta hijacked a car and crashed it, and that led the police right to him. When he was taken to court, he pled guilty for 2 rapes and armed robberies with aggravating circumstances. At the end of the case, he was slammed with 45 years in prison, but he appealed, and at the end of that appeal, he got 30 years in prison. I could already tell by the time I'd gotten to this part, I knew that this guy was obviously a terrible person, and I feel like you too might have gotten to that conclusion. But just hear what he said next. Tabo said, "I know I have done terrible things, but this is not who I truly am. I want the opportunity to make it right." He was making this statement in court. Now, with this statement, you would think that he was truly sorry for the things he had done, for the lives that he had taken, for the traumas that he had caused. But that was not the case. That was not the case because Tabo Besta proved to be a criminal mastermind even in prison. From prison, he ran a sham media and event company called 21 Centuries Media. This events company goes as a subsidiary for 21 Century Fox, the multinational media group. Tabo ran this company, this is 21st Century Media, by sending instructions to his people via text. Did I say that it was from prison? Yes, it was from prison that he was doing all these things. Everyone believed the lie. Everyone believed that there was a 21st Century Media. Everyone believed that this subsidiary of 21 Century Fox was actually legit. Until this group, Tabo Besta and his group, put out an event that said that they had invited Taraji P. Henson and Halle Berry to an event to come and speak or whatever, and those two denied it publicly on Twitter. That was when everybody found out that it was a lie, that this was a lie all along. I don't blame them, and neither should you, because at the inauguration of this 21st Century Media, Tabo Besta, who they knew at that time as Tom, like they didn't know that his name was Tabo Besta, because at that time he was going as Tom. He was being called Tom. He told people that his name was Tom. So he called into this event that was attended by the 1% of the 1% of the cream of South Africa. That's, you have the politicians, the actresses, the musicians, celebrities of all kind. Tabo Besta called into this event dressed to the nines and wearing a wristwatch, a designer wristwatch worth $180,000. Happy birthday, dear Tom. Happy birthday. We hope you're not crying. Did I tell you that he was doing all this from prison? He was doing all this from prison. But no one in the party knew that Tom, that's Besta now, Tabo Besta, who was going as Tom at this time, no one knew that he was doing all this from prison. Because at that time as well, he was claiming to be part of the family of a man called Patrice Motsepe, a South African billionaire. Tom was supposedly based in New York, and at that time when he was calling into the event, he was calling into the event supposedly from New York, because everybody in the event thought that Tom was in New York, and even the employees in the organization in 21st Century Media also felt like Tom was resident in New York and he was calling them from New York. Somehow, by some magic trick, which may have been him, somebody like giving him the gadgets that he needed to do all these things, but let's call it a magic trick. Somehow he was able to manage the company very well from the prison cell, even going as far as giving his employees employees direct instructions, like giving his employees in one-on-one instructions, calling them via video and giving them instructions on what to do. He was basically very hands-on. But what would you expect? You would expect a man like Tom, the person he had described himself to be, you would expect that kind of person to be hands-on, because Tom had told everybody, everyone that cared to listen, his employees, the creme de la creme of South Africa's society, that he was a businessman who had a bachelor's degree in business administration and management from the University of Cape Town. Not only that, he claims to have a bachelor's degree in investment and securities from the University of Harvard. Thabo was so adept at crafting lies. The guy was good. He was good at telling people, like building himself up. He was good at, I don't even know what's called. In fact, he was good at building skyscrapers with his words, because he also told these people he had founded the world's largest promotion company at the tender age of 21. I mean, like, even me safe, if it's you safe, let me just not lie to you. Like, this guy, he knows how to dress, he now has charisma, and from the sound looks of it, he sounded and he looked intelligent. Like, can I just say again that I can't blame those people, because he actually sold it. Like, he sold it real good. His company had a luxurious office in Sandton, and they had more than 30 employees. Not only that, but the employees were apparently given brand new laptops. Somehow, by a stroke of some very powerful magic, Thabo always had a way of making money available when it was needed in the office. I mean, he was selling his lie really well. In the wee hours of May 3rd, a fire broke out at the Magwan Correctional Center in Thabo's cell. They tried to put out the fire. They tried all they could to put out the fire, but the fire just wouldn't go out. But finally, when they were able to put out the fire, a dead body was found. A dead body that was burnt to a crisp. Because of that, it was assumed that Thabo had committed a suicide. But how? A lot of people were wondering, because this was a maximum security prison run by one of the world's largest security companies, the G4S. So how had that happened? A lot of questions arose. People were asking, where had Thabo gotten the materials he needed to set up a fire? Why had the fire not been put up on time? Where were the security people? Different questions were being asked, and especially because Thabo's cell is an isolated prison, so a lot of the things just didn't make sense. It was a mystery. But despite what everyone felt, despite the questions that they had, what had happened had happened. A lot of people felt like it was good for him. The fact that he died in a fire incident, it was good for him because of all the crimes that he had committed against humanity. But others felt that he should have lived to serve out his life sentence. They felt like him dying swiftly like that, him dying, committing suicide and just going like that was not good enough. Still, there was nothing they could do. They all had to just find a way to live with what had happened. And they were doing just that until certain things began to surface. Certain things that made them begin to question if Thabo had actually committed a suicide or not. One of those things was that upon autopsy, the body that was found in the prison showed that the person had not died from the smoke of the fire or from anything related to fire. It showed that the person died from blunt force trauma to the head. Another thing was that in the lungs of the body that was found, there was no sign of smoke. So that meant that whoever that was hadn't died in the fire. But not just that, it meant something even worse. Something that gave a lot of people nightmares. It meant that Thabo Bester had escaped prison. How? How could Thabo Bester have escaped prison? A maximum security prison. Allegedly, Thabo Bester had greased the palms of those who needed oiling. From the ground or from the security men, the cleaners, everybody, he had greased their palms so that they could look the other way and he could perpetuate his prison break act and just disappear. It was found that earlier, that's before the fire outbreak, Thabo Bester had moved to an isolation cell that was closest to the fire escape. Apart from that, the cell that he moved to, that area, the CCTV coverage wasn't that good. So it was was a well orchestrated plan so that whatever happened, if they had to look at the CCTV coverage to find out what happened, how did this guy escape, they wouldn't really be able to see that area really well. Not only that, a dead body had already been placed in the prison waiting for when the fire outbreak would start, so that the dead body would now be placed in his prison cell and then Thabo Bester would be able to escape wearing a warder's uniform. Obviously, with a dead body burnt to crisp in the cell, it would be assumed that the dead body was Thabo Bester. Maybe he didn't account for the autopsy that would be done on the body that would prove that he was not the victim. Or maybe he hoped that the government and the officials would feel uneasy announcing to the general public that Thabo Bester had escaped prison. Or maybe all he wanted to do was escape and all the other maybes just didn't matter. Thabo Bester had paid the price for his freedom with an elaborate scheme, but the taste of freedom ended soon when he was found nearly a year after, living somewhere else in South Africa with a new name. He may have continued terrorizing people, he may have continued committing so many crimes, but for a news agency in South Africa called Ground Up. Ground Up didn't mind doing the dirty work and looking for answers even when it seemed like no one else was. They were the first to publish the picture of a man and his girlfriend who looked very much like Bester doing grocery shopping. Imagine, he was doing something so simple as grocery shopping, living his life like nothing had happened. His girlfriend, we're going to call her Dr. Mana. His girlfriend, Dr. Mana, is a 35-year-old celebrity doctor who is known to help to improve the appearance of people. Herself and Bester had worked together in 2006, but even more was the fact that she was visiting him while he was in prison in 2017. Of course, it is normal for a girlfriend to visit her boyfriend in prison. It is normal for her to come check up on him and all that, but not if it was more than a visit. Not if it was an opportunity for them to plan the elaborate escape of Thabo Bester with the dead body of Katulego Impolo. I feel like they may not have been caught if they had just continued living their merry good life on the down low, doing small things, going to eat, going for shopping and all that. But that was not the case. Bester, who now went as CK Nkwana, that's after he had left prison, he now assumed another name as CK Nkwana, and his celebrity girlfriend, instead of them to now be living their life, their baby girl and baby boy life, are just living on the down low, trying to be good citizens. He now came out of prison and started another sham property company called Aron Properties. They convinced a lot of people to pay deposits for construction projects which were never completed. But these people never noticed that anything was amiss. They never noticed that something is wrong here until they had already paid a huge sum to Thabo and his girlfriend. I'm talking millions in rands or millions of rands. Thabo's girlfriend was often the one who linked Thabo with his sham victims, and even in August 2022, Aron's Properties hosted a Women's in Property brunch at Dr. Dumana's mansion in Hyde Park. The event was attended by several Johannesburg businesswomen. In celebration of Women's Month, Aron Properties would like to treat you, a pioneer in the property industry, to an exquisite brunch and all things property, the invitation read. So while all this were going on, while the government and the people were looking for Thabo Bester and Dr. Dumana, the big question also became, how did Katalogo Mpolo's body end up in cell 35 when the police report had said that Katalogo collapsed in Bloemfontein and was taken to the hospital? The 30-year-old young man had gone missing in April 2022, just days before Thabo's prison break. So how was his body gotten a hold of if he was in a government morgue? My wild guess would be Dr. Dumana. Why would I say that? Why do I feel like it was Thabo Bester's girlfriend, Dr. Dumana, that helped to put the body in the cell? Why do I feel that? That's just my personal opinion from everything that we have seen. I feel like that because she filed a court case to get the body that they had thought was Thabo Bester's body. She filed a court case to get that body returned to her. So why did she file a court case to have that body returned to her if she was not trying to cover up something? If she did not want an autopsy to be run on the body, and so that it not be found that the body was actually not Thabo Bester's. Because if that autopsy had not been run, if they had not done that autopsy, they would have just probably assumed that it was Thabo Bester, and Thabo would just be somewhere living his life as CK Nkwana or Nkana, and nobody would be, the wiser. They would just feel like, okay, this guy is dead, and this is just another criminal terrorizing people's lives. Other media houses followed the lead of Ground Up, and they started looking into things, they started digging into things, and it became too hot for Tabo and his girlfriend, so they decided to run. They took off, running from South Africa to Zambia, from Zambia to Tanzania, but they could only run so far, even with their numerous passports and fake identities, because they were caught on April 7th in Tanzania. Unlike his girlfriend who was covering her face, Tabo seemed to be unfazed by all the attention he was getting in court and from all the media outlets. At this point, I think that Tabo Besta saying that he would rather be killed than have his rights trampled is just a manipulation tactic. He either wants the people to vote for him to be killed so that he doesn't have to face what the government has in store for him. Because let's face it, security will be tighter now. And I don't see him being able to pull the stunts that he was able to pull, and stage another massive prison break. Especially because he was moved to a high security prison in Pretoria. To me, I feel like him asking for them to just kill him instead of trampling on his rights is him either doing that, not wanting to face what the government wants for him. Because of course people will be like, kill him, people want to see the guy dead, people want to see the guy gone. But it's either that or he wants to be seen as a victim. Either way, it's all a mind game. Because of course, I don't need to tell you anymore, Tabo Besta is a very manipulative person, and I must say that he's trying his best to manipulate the court, to manipulate the people, to manipulate whoever he can manipulate in this whole situation. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section, where the chat will continue. But until next time, while we continue this conversation in the comment section, don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe.